Now don't say anything more.
Good afternoon, evening, or morning. This is your painter in residence. I'm Francis McCarthy, and welcome to Easel Talk 26. Today we're going to be talking about skies, specifically payoff skies. I think we had one about, 5 or 6 back where we're talking about painting clouds and things. There's quite a few chapters dedicated to, not quite a few, maybe 3 different chapters in the new book dedicated to talking about skies. And I think skies are, first of all, they're really a great opportunity to inject emotion into your painting. It's a place you can bring in color. It's a place where you can, whatever composition you've come up with initially, you can totally support it with the skies, where the various clouds are placed and where the light's placed and things like that. And the concept that I've always used, always, is payoff skies. Payoff! We want to pay off. It's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity you don't want to neglect. So let's get into it. Skies are often where I see a lot of amateur paintings fail. Yeah. They're also, it's also a place where you have the most freedom. And I think this can be, since painting is pretty hard, you're struggling to get everything in there that you had a vision, you wanted to paint a scene or an image, and you went after, maybe it was a painting of a bird or something, or a painting of a field, and you got the trees, you got the path, you got the this and that, but the sky, you're going, just do whatever there, because I don't need extra challenges right now. Don't think like that. You want to be thinking about that sky, looking forward to painting it. Now, it's also, every painting I do, the first thing I do is paint the sky. Well, first thing I do is do the underpainting, but as soon as I'm getting my colors out, it's the sky, and that's because it's behind everything else. It may seem self-explanatory, but it deserves to be said. I'm going to have some coffee. It's morning. It's actually raining today, so there's that. It's kind of nice because it's been super hot. You can see I've got my hat, got my coat, because it's at least, I don't know, I'm not going to get into Fahrenheit or Celsius, but Fahrenheit, maybe 10 degrees cooler than it has been, something like that. Anyway, now, so this is based on a chapter from my book, and we're working on the book. It's going to be coming out this year. I think you're going to love it. And a couple different chapters on skies in there. One on painting clouds. Payoff skies is a little different. And really what I'm trying to do with this chapter is point out to you the amazing opportunity you have to take the sky portion of the painting and make that the thing that's not only the most fun to paint, but also is the thing that will key in. Usually, we'll backtrack a little here. So I set up my reference. There's a few videos on the channel of me doing that. In fact, the one I just put up is a revision, because our last Easel talk was about revising paintings, and I thought, I got a painting here I could revise. And in the live session, you can see me actually compositing in a new sky using the digital programs, using a free digital program called PhotoP. So now that's in the members area right now, but it'll be rolling out a version of that, the 1080 version with ads will be rolling out to everybody in a few of my days. It will have already been available to you when this talk comes out, so check that out. I can understand too, you don't really want to wrangle with the digitals, maybe, but take the time, because painting is way harder. Painting's way harder. The digital stuff is not that hard, and you can find a million places that give you tips and tricks on how to do that, like compositing skies in your photos and things like that. Anyway, here we go. Oh yeah, so I mentioned in the chapter, I haven't been seeing many movies since the 2020s, but when you look, even there's many of the TV shows, they will seldom miss an opportunity in a dramatic scene to put a dramatic sky. It's a really great opportunity to pump up the emotional content of the scene, make things feel epic, make things feel mysterious or moving. A lot of different things you can do. Anyway, let's talk about the easy route. Yeah, Mike, easy route. That's what we want. Easy. Okay, well, let's see what we got to say. The golden hour. So you paint in the golden hour, you already got a lot of opportunities there because the sky is generally going to be, more goldy, right? And not only that, the landscape elements have got the light at a bit of a slant, so when you're talking about compositing skies in, I have a big folder full of really awesome skies, but most of the time, like say, in fact this happened on, what painting we're looking at? We're looking at this one here. It's a bit dark in here. Hopefully the camera's filling, I got the aperture cranked wide open, so hopefully it's filling this whole deal with light. But that painting, actually, you can see both side by side, so that's illustrative. The one on the on our right is it's Wooley's Bay, and the one on the left is Wooley's Bay. One is painted with the sunset sort of take, and the other is painted with more of a mid-afternoon. And it's the same reference for both, and I just wing-dingled it, to make it work. Wing-dingle's a technical term. They teach you that about 3 or 4 years into your painting journey. Why golden hour works. Sunset, twilight, dawn, they all have built-in color and sideways light. The sky is usually way more interesting. It's just not just gray clouds, gray and white, with blue. A little bit of sniffling, sorry. We'll go on. Pollen hasn't been that bad, but it's still a constant here. Here's a trap. Color, light, clouds shifting rapidly. Especially say you're the plein air painter. I don't know, you might be just new here. I don't paint plein air. I paint in the studio. I do respect plein air painters. I think it's awesome, and I've done a bit of it, But I will say, you want to be the plein air painter of sunsets, you need to move to Alaska, where the sunset takes 5 or 6 hours, right? If you're working plein air here, lower on the longitudes there, or is it latitude? I think it's latitude. You're gonna need to work pretty damn quick because that sky's always changing, and that's one of the reasons why I like working in the studio. That's maybe the number one reason, because I like painting colorful skies. If you've ever noticed, you've gone, oh well, look honey, it's the sunset, it's beautiful. It's changing rapidly, and I'm sure you're taking pictures with your phone and stuff, and that's a good tip, by the way. If you are out in the world driving around and see a beautiful, awesome sunset, take a picture with your phone. You can composite that into, it doesn't need to be high res either. That's one thing I've been passing on for a long time. Your reference images for your paintings don't need to be high res, because you don't care about the detail anyway. You're looking for composition, you're looking for color. What else do you need? Okay? Yeah, plein air does become difficult. Phones help, though. Phones help. And now in the old days, what the painters would have to do is sit there and get that stuff to memory. Or they had these little tiny paint boxes they would use sometimes. And they'd just make little color notes, right? Or they'd sketch with their pencils or charcoal. And they had their color notes, and they brought all that in the studio. And with the memory, would make beautiful paintings. I mean, we look at the work of the Hudson River School. Oh, the Dutch guys. It just goes on and on. Even people like, I'm not a huge fan of old Turner, but he could paint some amazing stuff. Amazing skies. Yeah. The challenge. Reality gets in the way. Modern world, blocking skies. Yeah, it's a real problem where I live here. It's like, I'm in a little bit of a valley, but even driving around, you got all these buildings, you got telephone poles, you got a lot of stuff crowding. Where I live here, we have amazing sunsets and sunrises, but I don't see them as well as I used to. That's just a thing. But, I compensate by collecting. If I see something cool. And a lot of times, in fact, the painting that's up on the channel now, that revision, the sky I composited in. I took the photo of that sky about 15 years ago, so it's still good. Yeah, collecting reference matters. Capture cool stuff, and you might find a place to use it. Now, and I'm sure maybe this comes up a little later, but there are, I have that folder full of sky images. It's got maybe 2,000 images. Some of you I've sent that folder to, and big time supporters. That's the maximum tier of support. Hey, now I'm just sharing, right, with fellow painters, and you should start building up your own collection of awesome skies to reference. And say you don't want to do the digital thing, well, you can do what they used to do, which is you have in your little reference area, you got your landscape photo, and you've also have a photo of a sky that you want to composite. You can composite it right there on the painting. I do think it's way easier to use the digital tools, but let's face it, you use a lot of different ways to skin a cat. This is not a cat skinning channel, so we'll move on. Yeah, so collect those references. In fact, it's worth your time just to have a little reference collecting, sojourn on your computer there. Put some time aside and type into your search engine amazing skies, beautiful skies. That would be one of my favorite terms to type in. Sunsets, okay, you can put that in, but what you're really looking for, the best skies to have in your skies folder, are ones that could be late afternoon. They've got a bit of color in it, a bit of mood in it, but it's not full out gold. It's not full out red, or lavender, or any of those awesome colors that come about through sunset. Here's your permission slip. You don't need a perfect golden hour to paint a payoff sky. You have a license to create one, to interpret it. Okay? I got more in this coming. We'll keep talking, and we're going to keep going because we're already probably 12 minutes in. Okay, good. Building your resource library, personal archive. Now I've got about 2,500, 3,000 sky photos in my folder, and sometimes I do remove things, but sometimes I'll add things. All right, but it's big enough that I can generally find something that'll work. Many work out for paintings, and many are just don't. And this is one of the reasons about 2-3 years ago I did the sky series, where I just took some of the more extreme skies that were really awesome and cool, but were too cool, too awesome for landscape painting because they just totally dominated the landscape. And then in cases like that, I just put a little ridge of hills and painted the sky, and that's fun too. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. The folder, call it skies, have it on your desktop, back it up. When you see something cool, drag it over. You just grab the image and drag it over, and maybe you have to click on the image, make it bigger. I don't know what your particular challenges might be digitally. Maybe have your grandson. I'm assuming you're old. Look at me. I'm old. Yeah. Okay. You save anything that might work someday. That's a great tip. And that's not just for skies. That's for any bit of reference you see. Anything as you're going through the interwebs, anything you see that you go, wow, that could be a cool painting, save it. It could be the inspiration behind a painting. Yeah. Counterintuitive truth about reference skies. The most dramatic skies usually don't work. I just talked about that. They conflict with the landforms. Yeah, high contrast, dark clouds, that's not good. And you'll see that in painting after painting if you watch me. And it's easy to do that because this channel was not just this talking head. This is only this last half a year. This is 26, so that would be half a year. 52 divided by 26. Anyway, half a year we've been doing these Easel talks. But prior to that, yeah, no idea. Maybe you kind of knew what I looked like. I think I did pop my head in a few thumbnails, but you know, it wasn't about me talking. This channel is about painting, you know. But this is a nice addition. I think it is, and hopefully you agree. We're just having a chat. Get yourself a cup of coffee. And God bless you, Scott Adams, who passed this last week. I'm a big fan of Scott. I wouldn't say I watched his podcast with any regularity, but I've read many of his books. I'm a big admirer of the guy, and he would do the simultaneous sip. So let's all do that in honor of Scott. Simultaneous sip. God bless you, Scott. Great man. I'm rereading one of his books now. Yeah, it's really helping. Okay, sky photos you return to most often are not always the ones initially wowed you. I point that out. But you'll find, that's another thing. Those of you that have been following my painting channel with any regularity for years might say, wait a minute, especially in the members area where you're seeing the reference image. Did he use that before? Yeah. There's sometimes I've reused the same sky, maybe a dozen times, you know. It doesn't really matter because it's grist for the mill. It's just fodder, right? It's just there to stimulate the painting process. And I'm sure we'll talk some more about that as we go. Yeah. The color latitude you have. Oh yeah, this is good stuff. I'm always talking about this. So, yeah, it's one thing to have golden hour, sunset. But what if you're painting a midday scene? It's and you've got a sky, anything that could work, but it's just gray clouds and blue sky and gray and white clouds. There's for years I'm not at all daunted by that because I have a lot of strategies for injecting life and emotion into those sorts of you know, skies as well. And the real key is to remember, first of all, and I had this epiphany just this last year, even though I was the epiphany came after the practice, and that's, I'm getting to it, just relax. When you're looking at that gray cloud, it's just averaging out as gray. You know, it's just a boring gray cloud, it's just boring. Okay, well, why is it gray? Have you thought about that? What is a cloud? A cloud is water vapor and air. And you're all familiar with rainbows. What are they? Oh, water vapor and air, right? Well, we got the light cut through a certain way. You see all the colors, the banding. But the reason why clouds are gray is because they're full of miniature rainbows, and it averages out to gray. Can you believe it? Miniature rainbows. So, first thing on your palette, you got cool gray, you got warm gray. You're always playing those off against each other. But you can start veering from the cool grays off into some blues and violets and alizarin crimson-y tones in that cool area. Piece of cake. And the warm side, oh, we can start with a warmish gray. Maybe we mixed the Mike's gray with a little bit of like burn and burn. We're off into warm territory, and you can add in all different kinds of yellows or burnt siennas or warm pinks and oranges. You know, don't go crazy, otherwise you're into sunset territory. But all of those warm grays can be pushed. Aspects of them can be pushed into a lot of different colorations, and as long as you don't get too heavy-handed with it, and you'd be surprised, you have a lot of latitude. I don't think I've seen a situation where someone says, "Hey, Mike, well, there's all that color in the sky, but I don't think this is a sunset." That's never happened yet, but you do still want to be careful. Don't get cocky. License to interpret. Yeah, so yeah, even in a non-obvious morning evening scene, you can push the color, make grays more pinkish, lighter tones more cream. That's the other thing. Your whites in the sky, they should always be some kind of cream. either very yellow or slightly yellow. And in live painting session after live painting session, you will see me introduce raw umber into that lightish tone to make it feel more natural. That's a tip just for you. You can push the you have enormous. I'm getting ahead here. You have enormous latitude before people start asking, "Hey," like I just said. The license to interpret. You're not copying. You're inspired. Okay. You take that reference and don't be all like, "Ooh, does this work this way? Does this work that way?" I mean, yeah, do a bit of that, but you should be kind of getting that sorted out when you're doing your underpainting. Kind of figure out how you're going to do things. But the sky's a place to open up and express yourself. Use a big brush. This is like a 6 here. This probably would be used for a lot of skies, right? Yeah. Okay, the sky is reference only. It's inspiration, not instruction, right? It's more so true than any other part of your painting because maybe you've noticed the sky is always changing and there's never been two skies the same ever in the history of the world. I mean, come on. So you can push things. You can move those clouds, move them around. I mentioned that early on. They want to support your composition and you can try different things, right? Move the clouds, you can push the temperature, cooler, warmer, whatever serves the emotion of the painting. You can add or subtract detail. Now, this is good, this has come up, because the sky is not a place for a lot of little fiddly detail. We don't want that. You can look at your reference photo and see all these incredible little striations of atmospheric clouds and stuff. Go, wow, I'm going to get that exact. But the problem with that sort of mentation as you're painting skies is that when you start getting all draftsman-y and working things out in really tight, specific ways, that gets you right out of the open feeling of air, right? So you're better off just taking a quick pass at it and trying to get something there that you think looks good. And I recommend doing that. And then maybe you're moving on to another part, and then you'll come back, or maybe you'll clean your brush or something, and you'll look at it and go, "Oh, I could do this or that." That's the approach, okay? So put it in and then maybe come back and adjust a little bit. That's a much better approach than getting all like, "Oh, I've got to get this exactly right." That's not the approach for skies at all. There might be reasons to do that with trees and things. There could be reasons. I mean, maybe you're doing a specific type of tree, or you're working things out. It's like some of the scenes I do, like Wooley's Bay back there. That's a real place. So I need to make sure that the basic formations look real, you know, like it's a real place. I don't have as much latitude with imagination, but that's certainly not true of the sky ever in any painting you do, ever, never, ever, never. Yeah, so the detail, you can add or subtract detail. You can bring in little bits and do little things. You have a lot of, I give you a license to do whatever pops into your head. And that's the other thing. I think we mentioned this last time we were talking about painting skies. And I mentioned just doing little sketches of skies. Like get a pad of paper and put some house paint on it. You know, a little, not thin paper. Make little studies of skies, you know. Only these might be best color skies. If you're doing payoff, you definitely color's a big part of that. But you can get a payoff sky in a black and white painting too. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot you can do. In fact, that's one of the chapters in the book where I basically outline how the value structure of your scene, of your painting, is the thing that conveys the drama. You know, the color comes in afterwards, and I just want to point out here, because I'm a little pedantic, sometimes from a standpoint of somebody teaching painting, I'll separate value from color. because that's helpful. But the fact is, they're always, hand in hand. Here's the value. Here's the color. They're like this. That you can't separate them. Okay. Ooh. Well, we don't get too far ahead. The Studio Pass reality check. Astute viewers notice the sky reference is composited. Yeah, I already mentioned this. Yeah. So the people in the Studio Pass are seeing a reference. The people in the members area on YouTube are seeing a reference. These days, about, what was it, a month or two ago, I decided that I would release the live painting session to the general public, just because, information wants to be free, and I'm sharing. But you support me somehow, please, any way you can. Yeah. Okay, the trap. There are some traps with skies, okay, and I've seen this in a lot of amateur paintings as well, too. They're going, yeah, I can do whatever I want. I got my pink, I got my orange, I got my blue. Mike said, go crazy, express myself, get some emotion in there. Yeah. Slow your horses down. You can go garish, okay? You never want to be garish, and I've never seen me do that. If I start going into extreme chroma in the sky, it's always balanced and justified against other aspects of the painting. The garish thing is definitely a hallmark of amateur painting, and don't let it be you. So if you feel like you're getting anywhere close to the chroma coming out of a tube, that's too intense. It's too saturated. That's where I think a color like a raw umber or burnt umber is your friend, or even black. A little bit of that added to your mix will calm things down a little, and you'll still have chroma, but you always want to surf that space where it's beautiful, it's chromatic, but it feels natural. Okay, that's a good one. Oh yeah, back in the 2010s, yeah, the HDR problem, that's what we're talking about now. Back in the 2010s, HDR photography pushed saturation contrast to extremes, and it looked terrible most of the time. Sometimes it has survived in real estate photography, I can tell you that. Yeah, but it's always, usually when you see it now, it's a bit subtler, but people would just go nuts, because what the HDR does, it brings light into the shadows, and then it dims any blown out highlights, right? The dimming of the blown out highlights can be odd, but the main thing that makes HDR look weird is when, there are no real shadows. It's just a bunch of color everywhere. Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, the overly chromatic sky. Amateur painters will see neat colors and they love them, they won't paint them. But they don't always know how to modify those pigments to get something that's going to look good on the painting. And I just kind of gave you the tip, add a little raw umber or burnt umber depending on the color you're going after. Maybe black, and you might need to, like, sometimes when you say add a little raw umber to something, it might make it a little green, so you'll need to counterbalance out a little bit what I call my mixing red, which is that cad red hue from Winton. There's another tip. So many tips, so little time. Okay. Yeah, color mixing, we'll talk about that more in another video. The real issue, knowing when to hold back, and knowing when to push. That's how you get to payoff sky. Payoff sky doesn't mean a maxed out sky. It means a sky that serves the emotion of the painting. Okay? It doesn't compete with the landscape. Learning from the masters. Moving on. Okay, we're doing all right. Oh, and we need to pick up the speed. Camille Crowe. The genius with the boring skies. That's what I call Camille. Sorry, Camille. God bless you. He's one of my favorite painters of all time. His composition, when you look at Camille Corot, you don't realize that one of the things that made him a genius was the way he composited his landforms, okay? And I did there's a playlist on the channel, I did plenty of faithful studies after Camille, but these days if I was going to go after Camille Corot, I would probably make it what I call a riff, which means that it's kind of going to be like Camille Corot, but I'm probably going to replace his sky with something a lot cooler and more exciting. A lot of his skies I just think are boring, And it was kind of common with a lot of these 19th century guys. Beautiful landforms, flat skies. And let's face it, they didn't have some of the tech we got now. So use the tech. I'm a big believer in using tech to support your painting process because painting's hard. Okay? But don't let the tech take over. It's not about the tech. It's about making paintings. The tonalists got it right. George Inness, John Francis Murphy, they never had this problem. Their skies are always... take it back. Murphy had a phase. I think there was some sort of depression or something, like in the 1880s. And he was just painting these scenes with some trees, a barn, and a pond. And you see quite a few of these. Trees, barn, pond. Trees, barn, pond. I'm not dissing the guy, but he was making these quick paintings just to pay the bills. And you'll hear me refer to that kind of thing as a pot boiler. Some of you younger people may not know what that is. But pot boiler is referring to a literary work, generally, where it's got a kind of plot and story that people are going to like. It's not designed to do much more other than entertain you. And you can do paintings like that, and certainly John Francis Murphy did, and it did stink up his legacy, so be careful with that. It's a different world now, though. It's a different world. He was, he had a family, and he had to make a painting and sell it and get some food. But when you take those out of his oeuvre, he really knew how to do a payoff sky. Most of all the tonalists did. In fact, I'm thinking of his name's escaping me. It'll come to me though. There's a guy. He's not even in that book on American tonalism. What is it? Charlie something. I've done a lot of Stays Apps work. His styles are amazing. Big influence on me. Also, someone like Enneking. I really like Enneking as far as color. His composition's just okay. In fact, I would do a lot more studies after Enneking, except when I go to do one, I don't like his composition 9 times out of 10. But John Enneking was a huge influence on me, and the chromatic approach to tonalism. Tonalism's a pretty broad category. You can be quite chromatic or you can be quite subdued. I tend to fall more on the chromatic side of the equation because, let's face it, it's already kind of darkish. You may as well have some real color in there. Yeah. The luminist heritage. I mentioned these guys earlier. Yeah, when you hear luminist, that's AKA the Hudson River School. Okay? And they always had awesome skies in their paintings. Everything about their paintings was awesome. My only place I would fault the luminous Hudson River guys was that the tonalism was an evolution, because the tonalism is a closer representation of how human vision actually works, believe it or not. And I had the guy in here about, it was 2-3 weeks ago now, and he's like, why is everything so blurry? And just the day before, I had someone say, wow, everything's so detailed and sharp. And I'm like, okay. I was in my backyard yesterday. My dogs, I have my lunch, and when I'm done eating, the dogs are like, come on, we're going to go outside, right? And so I took the boys out. And, like right now, you see me in focus, but the lens is blurring the background. Now that's a camera doing an impression of something that we do as humans that's very hard to capture, which is we see something in focus and then everything around it is blurred, but we can't focus on the focus and the blur. Oh, I know I'm getting crazy. My point here is that if everything in your scene is 100% in focus, human vision doesn't work like that. So when we put the focus on a specific point and everything else is subordinate to that, that's our attempt to represent human vision more closely. And it's a vast topic that I'm not really being not that scientifically inclined. I'm not that qualified to talk about it, so I'll just shut up. But you think about these things when you're a painter, right? Think about it. Yeah. My philosophy, I've taken a page out of the Luminous book, and that is if you can make it beautiful, make it beautiful. And the difference is I won't over detail things, especially the foreground. And that's a topic for another conversation. Okay, practical application. How and when to elevate your skies. Now, before you even touch the painting, you want to say, what emotion do I want to convey with this painting? I can tell this clock's getting over 40. I'm so sorry. Here I am. So I have a reference photo. There's one I was just working on, and I like the composition. It's a very much an M. Francis-y type of composition. But the sky in that photo was just plain blue. And also I took the photo at 11 in the morning, so I have limited options as far as like doing crazy sunset types of things with the sky, because the shadows are right under the trees, So what I did was I found a sky that'll hit into those compromised areas, and whatever coloration or mood is in that sky that I composite in, I then use that to set the colors and emotion for the rest of the scene. That's what I do, and it works very well. These are the questions you want to ask yourself. But when I'm looking for that sky, these are the questions I'm asking. What do I want? What kind of sky do I want? I want something peaceful, mysterious, softer. Do I want drama, tension, energy? Do I want strong contrasts here? Do I want just something that's filled? How much of the sky is going to be in the painting? That's a factor too, because you don't want to have a bunch of drama in a tiny area, right? Timelessness, the gloaming. Oh, what a nice word. Gloaming is another word for sunset. Yeah, an old word. What colors am I digging here? The deeper violets, cooler grays, things like that. Yeah. The execution mindset. I work top down. The darker zenith to the lighter horizon. So whatever kind of sky you're doing, even if it is a blue sky, it's dark at the top and it gets lighter as it goes. And I won't talk too much about that here because, well, at least in regards to a plain sky. So if they might paint me a plain blue sky, I'd have a really pretty indigo at the top. And then as I'm painting down, I'm adding in gray, I'm adding in yellow ochre, I'm adding in white as I move down to the horizon. And there's always going to be more light towards the horizon. And that's what they call aerial perspective, because there's more particulate in the air as you get closer to the land. Okay. Yeah. Okay, here's some general tips. Use a light touch for ethereal effects. Now, one of my biggest challenges is like, we have this catch lights at the edge of a cloud. I'm still not masterful at painting those, but I'm working on it. I'm always working on it. But I will say that you don't want to get all hard there. You want to just knock it with your brush. Always avoid 100% white in your skies. Kiss of death. Kiss of death. Don't do it. Yeah, it kills the luminosity. Avoid continuous highlight bands. They look fake. That's a glowing edge all the way around the cloud. You don't want to do that. It's the same rule for trees. So you have a highlight here, a highlight there, but make sure it's not following the entire form. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You'll figure it out on your own sooner or later, but I'm trying to clue you in. Using the jigger technique for cloud edges. This could be its own talk, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. That's a sort of movement that I'll make, just to kind of move the paint from the sky into the cloud without going so far that things become smeared. I use the term jigger. Yeah. And inject diverse hues into your grays, the miniature rainbow inside. I already give you that. So gray isn't just gray. Gray is a world. Gray is a world. You can totally explore that. And if you see me do it with my paintings, especially a lot of times, that's very instructive in the color mixing sessions, which are also part of all the live videos, right? The composer's approach. Think of the sky like a composer thinks about music. The landforms are the structure, but the sky is where you layer in the emotion, the atmosphere, and the part of the painting that really makes people feel something, right? Closing. Oh, we're doing okay because I moved through that last one pretty good. Yeah, closing. Permission and challenge. Permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't even need perfect reference. You just need to make a few notes about some of the things I said here and start implementing them in your paintings right away. The sky is a big place for you, especially say you're a painter starting out. It's a big place for you to improve your work. Take the time to get more comfortable painting skies. You should never be, in fact, I know I'm trying to wrap this up. In fact, we're going to hit 40. I'm sorry. My wife and I, we like to watch MasterChef, right? And MasterChef Australia specifically. That's the best one in my view. We like them all. But so many of these cooks, like you got 25 cooks, and they're all coming in and they all want to be the master chef. And so they got various things they're throwing at these people. It takes weeks and weeks to get through the competition. And I wish I had a nickel for every time someone says, "Oh no, a dessert? I don't like making dessert." What are you doing in MasterChef? You can't just be the savory cook. And it's the same thing with painting. You got skies, you got land. One is like the savory and the other is like the dessert. You need to be adept at both. Okay? See, I wrapped that up pretty good. I think that was worthwhile. I hope you agree. You don't need perfect conditions, you don't need perfect references or perfect light to paint a payoff sky. You have more freedom here than anywhere else in the painting, and you want to use it. Please. Challenge. Stop painting the sky as a backdrop because you're thinking trees. And you know, I've observed that to people coming to my studio here. There's layers. You know, some people think I'm a picture framer because all they see is the frames. And then they take a minute and they'll see that there's landscapes in the pictures. My space here is not like any space anywhere else in this country. I don't know, maybe anywhere else in the world, but it's a painter's studio that's open. But I do my paintings and they are the way they are. And to a lot of like normal type people, they're going, "What is this? I've never seen anything like this." And they can't register it right away. But it's a layer, it's a level. First they'll see the frames. And then, after that, they see the trees. Because the trees are contrasted against the skies. And they will say to me, "You must love trees." And I go, "I do. But what I really love is skies." And the people that are just a little more on the ball, that's what we did last week. The ones that are a little more on the ball, they'll say, "Wow, your skies are awesome." They're getting it. They're getting it. They're getting what I'm into, which is my favorite part to paint is the sky. It's the payoff, man. Yeah, so don't paint them as a backdrop. Paint them as the emotional heart of your work. Notice what the tonalist did. Study in S. Look at where Corot went wrong. You know, you can learn by the negative as well as the positive. Collect skies for reference. Make paintings of just skies. Right? The real payoff. When the viewer looks at your painting, the sky should hit him first. Not no nice trees, but wow, look at that light. Look at that mood. That's awesome. What an awesome scene. This is beautiful. It's the sky that's the magic. It's the sky that'll help you do that. That's it. We're done. Thank you. 42 minutes. Not too bad. Not too bad. I try to keep these as brief as I can. But on the other hand, you know, this is my attitude and approach. And since we're at the very end, a lot of you have already left, so that's fine. You're in a hurry. And, you know, I don't blame you. You know, when I'm on the old YouTubes, I'll click on something I think, maybe this would be good to watch. And then I give them a few minutes. And if they're not seeing anything I think is valuable, I just click away. So I ain't going to be mad at anybody who does that to me because the information I'm imparting is only going to be valuable to some of you, right? But it's very valuable information regardless. And the format here is just us talking. I mean, this is we're having coffee. If you were one of my students and you say, "Hey Mike, what about skies?" This is the kind of talk you would get. This is what you would get from the man. This is it. This is what the Easel Talks are. That's the format. We have coffee and we talk. Granted, yeah, I don't hear much from you, but that's okay. It's still a conversation, right? And I do hear from you guys in the comments, and I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate it. Someone just sent me an email because they don't want to. They don't want to like or be subscribed or something like that. I respect it, but they took time to send me an email saying I like what you do, and I really appreciate that because, it's just encouraging because this is a bit of work. Not too much work to talking, but I want to take this video into my computer and do a bunch of stuff. Whatever, you don't care. So, thank you for joining me today, and positive comment. That's a valid way to support the channel. Dinero is great. You can actually go make a donation on my site. People have done it. Some people have done it big time, and paid for this brush, right? Or paid for the lens we're using here. I appreciate that. And if you have the means to support me in any way financially, man, do it. Go buy a painting. That'd be great. Oh, my book! Right here at the end. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Buy the book. Buy the book. Hoo-hoo. We shipped 200 out. Number 200 recently. I'm very proud. And it'll be an interesting year. A lot of stuff's going on this year. I mean, the world's kind of like on fire, kind of, but it doesn't really matter because you're just a person having your life. You're making things, and go make a painting, okay? And if you make it beautiful, someone will treasure it, someone down the road, and that's worthwhile. Anyway, until they come back with another broadcast, for your edification, I hope, and enjoyment, and do me a favor. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble, and fight the power. Did you know you could buy the book? Landscapepainter.co.nz. The book cost $65 US. Did you